Hey, welcome to another episode of Backstage Pass. I'm your host, Mike Shea, and thanks for coming back. This episode's guests are the ever so extravagant but very much rock out Palaye Royale. Described often as fashion art rock by us music critics, the band appear like out of a retro lookbook from the mid-70s. They got all the prerequisites, right? They got paisley and scarves and top hats and jackets and the best hairstyles off of the Sunset Strip in probably about 30 plus years. Now, there were two reasons I want to talk with these guys. One of them is that they're very much a DIY band, and I love DIY bands. They are signed to a label, Sumerian Records, which is the home to like Asking Alexandra and I See Stars, Hey Devin, and all the rest of them. But they're still very much in control of everything that they do, and I think that's the smartest thing you can do when you're a band these days. The Main do the same thing. They produce and direct their own music videos, and those actually tend to look something more like out of a Tribeca Film Festival than something you would find on Bevo, which is very smart because they have a longer lasting lifespan to them. And they even produced their own old school newsprint fanzine, which I was blown away by because that goes right to the heart of this former fanzine publisher like myself. The second reason why I want to talk to them is because I'm a sucker for an artist whose fan base is so dedicated and obsessed about them that they have been given their own Legion classification. And in this case, their fan base is called the Soldiers of the Royal Council. How awesome is that? Palaye Royale were originally from Toronto and are actually all brothers. It's got Remington Leith as the front man, guitarist and keyboardist Sebastian Danzig, and then the drummer is Emerson Barrett. And they were first called Crop Circle in 2008, which glad they didn't do that anymore. And then they changed their name to the summer of 2011 to Palaye Royale. And that's named actually a very famous, legendary Toronto dance and supper beer, entertainment place where people would go dance all the time. And that's actually supposedly where their parents first met years and years ago. They've since transplanted to Las Vegas, and now they're out in Los Angeles, which makes total sense, right? The group's debut record, Boom Boom Room Side A, is a must. You need to have this on your Spotify playlist. And it's one of the few records that not only would you like as a good classic rockin' album, but so would your parents, and probably even your grandparents, especially if they were one of those hippie dippy types from the Vietnam era that used to protest all the time. They would probably dig this. Anybody that's into like glam rock from the 70s back to probably the Doors would love this. And I'm all for rock that transcends generations. I think we need more of that. So here, without further ado, is Palaye Royale. Thank you for coming today. I really appreciate this. For everyone listening, and so especially for a lot of the people that don't know you guys yet, why don't we just go around the circle here and introduce yourself and what do you do in the band, and that way they can get to know your voice.
Sounds good. I'm Sebastian, and I'm the guitar player of Palaye Royale.
I'm Remington. I'm the singer.
My name is Emerson, and I'm the drummer.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming. And this is question number 1.
Yes.
That's the actual place. That's the Palaye Royale.
That is Palaye Royale.
That's the place.
That's the place that your name comes from. So now that's spelled in the French way.
Yes.
So what's been the most bastardized version of your name you've guys seen in either an advert or on a marquee yet?
Oh, God.
Andy Black thought he was funny by saying PayPal Royale.
Yeah, there's a new one every day, but my favorite is whenever we go to, I think it's the South, everybody tries to pronounce our name. It's just complete gibberish. It's like, oh, you guys are... I'm like, that's exactly it. That's who we are, yes.
But if you hear a French person say it, it is beautiful. It sounds like
It's
art.
the way it should be, right?
Absolutely.
I think maybe you need to have one of your next record intro with that. Just get it out of the way.
Just
get it out of the way completely. Maybe you guys have answered this before, and I looked around online and checked with our stuff too. Why don't you have a wiki page?
I honestly do not know. I
That
think
wasn't deliberate?
That was not
No,
deliberate.
no,
Really?
No.
I don't
It
think
may
it's
be
ever happened.
now looking at it from the outside, maybe it
I've
looks
never
better
even-
being deliberate like
There's
that.
maybe a conspiracy.
This is actually like the first time I've ever heard of it, like not having a
wiki
wiki
page.
page. I thought we had one, so
Yeah.
this
Wow.
is news to me.
Okay, well, there's the project on the way down to
Yeah,
Cincinnati
right.
today, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything about your guys' past or about your history that maybe fans have misunderstood this whole time, or that maybe is incorrect?
I think when we first started as a band, it's not hard to dig and find stuff online of what we were doing prior to this. And
A lot of fans still don't know that we are brothers.
So
Yeah, there is a lot of Google search on that.
Yeah.
it's interesting to see that whole process come into play with how these fans are They think that we're trying to stray away. For the longest time, people thought we were trying to stray away from what we had going on in our career. But to be completely honest, Emerson was 13 years old when we started in the music business, and we learned. I look at it as being we learned a lot from that. We were doing, shows for 7,000 to 10,000 people with really big name pop artists, and it was a great start because we got to know how to interact with the fans when we're now doing this. Because most rock bands are just very standoffish towards anyone or fans. They play their shows and leave. So we know how to keep the human connection alive with all the fans, and
I mean, it's the least we could do for someone putting up with our bullshit for 30 minutes.
I mean, how you guys do have this really dedicated fan base, a crazy dedicated fan base. And how much from the beginning, when you guys started talking about putting this band together, how important was that? How much was this set up? Like, okay, we're going to do this to that. Every band goes through this situation where, like, oh, you're going to get in the music industry, so you have to have this and this and this. But how far down did you guys really dig into the details and go, okay, our fan base is going to be number one?
We never really kind of like questioned it. It's just like it kind of happened naturally. We never really had a plan. We liked playing music, and we just were like, we really like talking to our fans because they're like really nice, intelligent people, and they're really sweet to us. So, I mean, we just try to be humans.
That's why we released we're on edition number 3 of our own newspaper publication called The Royal Times. And it's like a message board for the youth and our fans to talk about their poetry and philosophy and ideologies. And the youth is very profound. You just got to give them the chance.
What do you get back from that? From all the creative art that they're presenting back
physical
to you?
History, because my
right.
generation will be the generation that lives through the 20s, and the 1920s was the greatest time for art, music, cinema, poetry, existence, beauty. I think this generation has the ability and we can do it. We just have to unite as a society and use our phones and our advances for physical history.
Well, I don't know how many moms of old punk bands I've spoken to. They're like, oh yeah, I've got, bins and bins of their early flyers and t-shirts and everything in the basement and so forth. But a band of today, what are you putting in it?
Yeah.
Everything's digital pretty much. So, so I think that's really commendable that I think we have kind of turned a corner in that the physical is returning, the creative side of it, whether it's, you're seeing a lot of kids do drawings. Fan art is huge now.
We literally have buckets full of fan art, and that's we have a page in our newspaper for just simply fan art, because I don't know, I'm an artist as well, and I know how therapeutic it can be when you create your own world and your own realm and your own reality. And I'll geek out and talk to kids about art all day.
We were talking about it. There seems to be a lot of really great fan art coming from Eastern Europe.
Oh yeah.
And what's with that? I mean, there's some things you can surmise, but
I think I've dug into the whole thing of seeing that social media in a lot of places around the world have, it's very important to everyone, but for the most part, I've been seeing more people in Europe actually stepping away from their phones and being humans and having this connection with one another. And I feel that's where America needs to start heading, because everyone's even in the concerts, people are dug into their phones and not living in the moments anymore. And that's been going on for a while, but
it's crazy. Even yesterday, there's these 2 girls right next to the merch booth. They were just standing taking pictures of me, and I was like, oh, do you guys want to get a picture with me? They're like, hell no. I was like, that's a little strange. It's like, no, we're too embarrassed. We would never do that. I was like,
no,
that's extremely weird, I think.
Say hello to another human being? No way.
Yeah.
Right. No, you're just an
across the room,
Instagram
just
image.
exactly.
That's all you are.
Snapchatting me
You're
with the grandma filter.
Exactly. You're a meme.
Yeah.
Artist as meme.
Yeah.
There's a poem for you. So as far as kind of what you've kind of gotten, what kind of energy do you get back from fans that maybe, a lot of artists can kind of competitive with each other, and this is a compliment. I've just heard over and over and over again about your fan base and your connection with them and how much they rally for you. So what do you think you get out of it that maybe other bands aren't getting out of theirs?
I think it's a sense of what we've created, and to see it's kind of it's living proof of what we're doing and how we're influencing these kids' lives. And when it's not just there, and I think a lot of these fans are, oh, I need a band that saved me. It's not that. They're a part of it, something that we're doing, and it's a part of a generational movement that we're trying to create.
We're just
and
a family, pretty much. We're just creating a big family, and like, and also the thing that we also get out of it is our fans are just like nuts. So we'll say we like chocolate milk, and they tweeted this company TrueMoo like a million times until
Sharpie sponsored us. We have our
Yeah.
own
And I
pen.
saw a vitamin water. You guys did something like that.
Yeah.
too,
No,
right?
it's the
So
fans
it's just
will
'cause they-
harass them, and they'll be like, they need a Sharpie. They need Sharpie. We're
See,
boycotting.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we
Make
got
them
free
do the work.
TrueMoo.
Yeah.
So that was really awesome.
We don't need a
get free chocolate
PR
milk.
team. We have our fans.
Nope.
No, I think at the bottom line, all of us are looking to belong. If you're a kid, and even if you're an adult, you still want to belong, and spiritually or emotionally. And they do that for us as much as we do that for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've kind of created our own family because sometimes the family you're given isn't the greatest.
Yeah, right. You can't choose your family.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
But you can choose the band you like.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Depending on the peer pressure. So what have you found that you guys, because of the fact that you've been able to get so far already, pretty much unsigned, and then you got signed,
Yeah.
but you did a lot being
Yeah.
unsigned, more than the average band. But you know, every so often, if you talk to a band, you get a couple beers in them or whatever, and then they start, you know, complaining like, "Who's that band over there?" I'm not saying you guys, but they just say, "Who's that band?" Like they kind of cut to the head of the line.
Yeah.
Like, how
Yeah.
did they do it? I had to sweat it all out. Did you guys ever kind of sense any of that from anybody, or do you
You're saying sense in the
like the
way
competitiveness of
There
other
was-
people?
For
Or-
there's
Kinda like,
every
where did they come
every
from?
band that has been competitive with us, we've toured with,
Mm-hmm.
has broken up or is no longer a band. And we've toured with everyone from completely on the spectrum of Icy Stars and you know, bands like Get Scared, and people are like, "Why are you here?" And everyone at first glance, I don't want to like you. And that was how their audiences even were too. And we found out, we went on stage, did our thing, and people were like, all right, they're really good. I can't deny it. And people were like, I really don't like your style of music, but you guys are a really good band, you know? So we saw a lot of
the biggest thing was on when we did Warped Tour, like everyone saw us like the first day, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're not going to last the summer," you know. But and then they saw us, you know, at merch all day, and then carrying all of our gear
And wearing
while
scarves
while
and
wearing
jackets
the
and stuff,
clothes
you
that
know?
we're wearing, and we did that all summer with a smile on our face. And then they came up to us like last day of Warped Tour, and were like, "I didn't think you guys would last, but like, I'm really proud of you guys." I was like, "Thank you." Yeah. So everyone, it's kind of like, don't judge a book by its cover.
Sure.
Yeah.
What about it was it? Do you think that they were thinking you were not going to be able to last?
that we didn't look like them. I mean, that was the
No,
reality.
it was and
The tribe. You didn't look like
yeah.
the tribe, right?
Yeah.
because like obviously if we kind of get dressed up, everyone kind of thinks we're like prima donnas, and like, oh, you know, we deserve this, but we're actually kind of sweet guys.
So, I think it was you that you talked about your influences, your like 60s and 70s, or was that somebody else?
It all stemmed from the whole band idea of, you know, we really loved the early Stones and the Faces and
Velvet
T-Rex and
Underground.
Bowie.
Oh yeah,
Pink Floyd,
Yeah.
only with Sid Barrett.
But, you know,
gotta be particular.
our
yeah,
musical selection, I think, strayed a lot from being away from everyone else. That we'll name these bands, and the only people that know are the parents in the crowd.
Of course.
So it's fantastic.
But
for
you
that.
won the parents over.
Absolutely, and the parents are like, we're happy to bring our kids. You know.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
They
Yeah,
gotta
there you go.
drive them.
Yeah.
Right,
It's-
exactly.
Yeah, one
right.
mom came up to me. She gave me a hug. She's like, "Thank you for being the first band that I actually want my daughter to listen to."
Actually, that's a big thing that I've noticed. Our band is something that parents and their kids can bond over a bit, and it kind of breaks that like awkward barrier of parent to child relationship.
They don't. Our band doesn't need to
cool.
be an escape from their parents, as a lot
Right.
of punk bands were. And you know, it's like, I'm going to a punk show. Oh, screw my parents. And
Yeah,
now
you
it's the
can
parents are like, yeah, I want to go to the concert.
Because
I'll drive you.
I mean, I don't think my generation is as I don't know if I can swear on here, but
Sure.
they're not as fuck you as your generation was. You know,
It's more of like
They're
fuck
scared.
you.
They kind of need the parents' approval a bit.
Yeah.
You know? And
It's more like fuck you on YouTube comments.
Yeah.
That's about it. It's like over the internet. Fuck yeah,
Yeah.
I'm hardcore.
No one's looking on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If something said on the internet, was it really said? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you guys, the Struts, bands like that, where there's been a deliberate focus on the performance and not just pacing a stage.
Yeah.
You're bringing the whole thing. You're bringing the show,
Yeah.
which is a lot of that is missing. That is missing. It makes you guys stand out and it's very unique. And I've always kind of felt that that's why. And I've seen that where fans will kind of like, I don't know who I've heard of them, people, and then they see you and then like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And the Struts go through that too. And it's like this kind of multi-generational effect, but at the same time, you're bringing back the past, but in a more of a modern way, because it's kind of somewhat of the New York Dolls with you guys too, and
Johnny Thunders and Sid Bader's, that was like pinpoint of exactly where our mom was on the road with them back in the day taking photos.
Really?
So when we look at it, that she was without deliberately trying to, she gave us the name Sebastian Emerson, so she obviously wanted us to be a band at some point, you know. But
when you see a photo of Johnny Thunders when you're a kid, it kind of influences your life.
of course, yeah.
wearing a pink suit, you're like, sure, I'm into it.
Yeah.
Playing a Gretsch and looking sleazy as you ever can be. So
Yeah.
it's I think there was, there's bands like the Libertines were deliberately doing that. The Strokes were doing that. There was a whole, the Interpol was doing it. Obviously Oasis in the 90s and the Smashing Pumpkins. But I think in the past 10 years, there hasn't really been anything like Jet or Kings of Leon anymore. There's not this in-your-face rock and roll, and they don't look like, cheese dicks on stage that they're wearing, so a stylist came in and dressed them.
Right.
They literally took their clothing from one of their girlfriends. That was what rock and roll always purely was.
Why do you think that was?
It takes dedication and persistence, and I think from all the kids growing up in our time, they just wanted to be simply famous. But I think the artists that we look up to wanted to create art and wanted to be bigger than themselves. And I think that's definitely why we create what we do. We've given up the possibility of a comfortable life to sleep in vans, to play for kids, to create physical history.
It brings you more down to earth, right?
Yeah.
Your fans hear that's they hear that legitimacy.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, you must be so happy, you finally get to sleep in a bed when you're done with this tour. I'm like, no.
I want to stay.
The road is my home. That's my favorite place in the entire
we
world.
stuck really true. We were really close with Kim Fowley before he passed. He was going to produce our record, and he did everything from the Runaways to Kiss, and we were hanging out with him. And his only thing was, you just have to do the death dance and just go play in front of all these kids, and just, if they hate you, you're going to make them like you. And that was his whole mentality. And we took that from, because when we were on side, we would pass out flyers at every single show. We wouldn't sit on Facebook saying, come to our show, to our two friends that don't know our band. We went out there and met everyone, and the way we look, it was intriguing to everyone else. And I feel like the hair metal bands were the last generation to do that, and it was a competition in that sense. They would pass out flyers, but to see that you have this whole world of maybe 5,000 people at the Wiltern coming out every night in LA, and you're like, oh, here's a flyer, come to my show. Yeah, you'll get maybe 10 of them, but that's 10 people that would never have cared to find you online. Yeah. And then we took that, and then finally we're on tours, and we've done, I think we're one of the hardest toured bands in the past 2 years. We're at show 400 in 2 years. And it's just lifting. We were talking about it. We've loaded our trailer at least 850 times in the past 2 years, and that's just us. We don't have a tour manager. We don't have a driver. We don't have a merch person, because I'm like, you're all useless.
We fire a lot of people.
You fire.
Yeah. If I can do the job, I know how we can do it. And the kids want to buy merch from us. They don't want to buy it from some dude that's getting wasted at the merch table.
No, I mean, is it because there's a work ethic that you guys are trying to get to, or is it you don't get along with a lot of people?
Because we're brothers and because we're wired the way we are, we're used to a certain proficiency.
Yeah.
And most people don't have it.
And honestly, it's
very
like
particular, right?
I love everything about a show. There's not one point where I just want to play my show and get off stage and then go hang out with my bus. No, I love every aspect of the
So
show.
you're really not. It doesn't sound like you're really into hired guns too much.
No, it's just we honestly enjoy doing it.
So
there's some days where like one of us is like, I really don't want to do merch today.
You guys are going for it.
Yeah,
yeah, straight up.
So why do you're just talking about that with the Strokes and everything? Like, what do you think happened with rock and roll? I mean, there's a lot of talk about like, but what do you think? It's kind of like
It's always hiding.
late '90s, like it was
Yeah.
after new metal, basically.
After Korn and all those bands were in there, I think there was
Backstreet Boys
2002,
happened.
2000. Yeah, there was pop for a couple years there, but then
And then DJs.
then it was just you had Wolfmother come out, you had Jet come out, you had the Libertines, you had the Strokes, and those bands, I don't know what it was. It just they all kind of resorted back 40 years early. I feel like there's a cycle every decade that it resorts back to what music was born on, and it was the same. It was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but I think all of those are changing now. It's like, okay, it's the rock and roll, sex and drugs. It's not in that order, and I
think we're
this is
coming out of
business
the age of disco, essentially, where it's rap, it's electronic, it's like Transformers sounding music, and that's not cool. I think it's time for real instruments. I mean, like when someone hears real instruments, they're blown away. They're
When
like,
they
oh
see-
my god, that's what it sounds
and they
like.
see us pulling on like 80-pound amps on the stage, and they're like, where's your fractal, man? I'm like, you want me to plug into a computer? We're a rock band. That would not cross over.
One
too
of the
well.
bit-
We
one of
don't
the
play with,
biggest-
clicker tracks or
Yeah,
anything.
one of the biggest instruments in bands now is a Mac computer,
Oh, yep.
and that's
on a show.
That's always crazy to me.
Or the guy
because-
that can program the LED.
Yeah.
yeah, and
That's
it's
number two.
I don't know what I've lost. I don't understand when you're playing club shows. It should be in your face. Don't worry about having these lights. Literally have some couple stage lights.
obviously if
but-
you're an electronic band, of course, go do
Or
it.
you're a pop act.
Yeah,
or
of
you're
course.
something
Yeah,
like
but
that.
But when
need
you're
it.
when you don't
Yeah.
need, I've seen bands set up their stage, and I'm like, why do you have like we have our sign that says our band name, and it's that vintage Vegas looking thing because that was where we were born, and we grew up and loved those lights, and that's it. We throw it on stage and we play in front, and if you can't please a crowd by doing that, and I think going back to those bands that I was talking about, they were just dirty and went on stage and were in your face.
Yeah, one of my favorite bands of all time is Nirvana, and it's just so raw and genuine and real, and it's just, I think, the best show you can ever see, because if an amp blows out, you keep playing. If your
Right.
mic drops, you keep playing. You find another mic.
You can't create. People are trying to create honesty, and I think you have to just be what you are. And that was why we are the band we are today. And everyone's saying, oh, rock and roll is not going to work. You should be sounding more modern. And I'm like, well, we're seeing a bunch of kids that would necessarily not even like rock and roll. If we played them our record versus any of the bands that we've toured with, they'd be like, I won't like them. But because it's not just about one song. It's about the whole lifestyle that Palaye Royale brings to the table.
Sure.
And it's something that we're proud of, and I think it's taken a second to click on, but everyone's
working
never
now.
denied that we have a fan base, and no one could take that away from us. At first, the industry was very turned off by the whole, oh, well, who's this band? Okay. And then they kept on seeing our band name. Then they were like, oh, yeah, they're really good, actually. We just stay persistent. We're not sitting at home and trying to figure out who's our wife going to be,
What's probably the number one thing you guys hate about the music industry?
Everyone wants to adapt to what they think is going to work, and I don't know what the problem is. Everyone knows where the digital age is. We need to get into the world of creating that music is the platform to build on for in the business sense. You don't need to be worrying about music to be the goal, the bread and butter anymore. We need to figure out that music is accessible to every single person in the whole entire world, and it's you pay $9, you get Spotify or Apple Music. So if you can listen to all that music for free, why is someone going to care to be a part of the digital era buying your record digitally? Yeah, because they want to support the band, go buy a physical record. And that's getting back to holding on to something.
Right.
And I think the music business isn't catching up to that just yet. So
And also, I think like one of the biggest problems in the music industry is just like the industry itself, because there's so many parts where like, oh, you guys need to do this. You guys need to write a song like this. You guys need to do this. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna
continue.
do what I do. Like the whole reason you're a band is to write the music you believe in, or else what's the point?
And if we're
I think the most disappointing thing that we figured out in this whole process of music industry, whatever, was finding out that the biggest artists around are the ones that were keen enough to listen to bend to whatever someone was going to say. And that was kind of disappointing to figure out. I was like, oh, they're only that big because they listened to you.
There's a lot of, I think one of the good things about you guys is there's a lot of discussion with artists right now about, how do we break out of our genre or scene or something, or they start in this community, but now they want to be pop act.
We don't need to change it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You guys don't have to change it.
From day one, our music's just going to grow with us from our live shows, and I'm thankful. That was the one thing I'm really thankful about is our label we're with is a very metal label, and people look at us and they're like, "Why?"
They literally, the reason we signed with Cimmerian is because they literally let us release whatever we want. They don't come into the studio really ever.
Yeah.
And they kind of just go, "Yeah, great, good job, boys."
Because we were in discussions with other labels and stuff, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna get you guys songwriters. We're gonna get you guys a stylist."
And we're like, "No, but it's coming back
Stylist,
to
last thing you guys need. Really.
That's what I was.
There's a waste of money.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Then and then we met with Cimmerian, and they're like, "We love everything about you guys.
Just do you."
He's like, "We're just gonna throw you on a club tour for the next 2 years, beer and pizza. Enjoy it." I'm like, okay. It's like you're gonna have to take your mom's car. I was like, okay.
And we had to figure it out in the sense that it was they taught us in that sense. It was like, all right, we need some money for gas. Nope, fuck you, figure it out. So we started doing.
To see if we would break, but in that process, we got stronger. And
there you go.
In nature, you can only grow if there's struggle.
Sure. Yeah.
If we had it easy, there's a lot of bands we see that they go on their first tour and they have a bus, they have a bandwagon, they have, and it's
They fall on their face.
they fall. They don't know what the reality of life is with music.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's actually a great quote that you said here, and you can be your own worst enemy. I've learned the hard way of chasing fulfillment of glorified fame.
Mm-hmm.
How do you mean? What do you think?
Which one of us said that?
I said that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't remember saying that.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything? Gotta love the press,
Yeah.
first of all.
Yeah.
And it was a Q&A. So, I mean, do you think is there anything like where you guys kind of like, oh crap, we went down the wrong road on that?
I felt like we were almost going down a wrong road. It was this whole idea of where Remington's the voice of American Satan, and there was a lot of discussion of, oh, is this the easy route because the label likes what this sound is.
Right.
But we all came to figure out that won't work for a band like us. We would have to just change the band name at that point, because it's going back to people try to change their genres because they don't know what they want to do from day one. Just change the band, and that's what it is. And the glorifying fame is that everyone is they are too easy to give into. Oh, I'm making my next record. I need this guy, and this guy to write me a song.
Mm-hmm.
And every band, a lot of the kids are blind to it. A lot of bands can't even play their parts. And I know a lot of producer friends are like, yeah, we work with all these bands in this scene, and a lot of them can't do anything in the studio.
And,
it's
a big thing for us is like we've definitely come to a point where it's like, okay, we can take the easy route, or we can do what we truly believe in. And what we've been kind of doing for the past few years is I always make sure I'm like, I won't ever make a decision if I don't feel it. I got to go with my gut on every decision I make, even ordering a sandwich.
Yeah, we've just learned from personally like existing and professionally doing it to seek happiness and approval from any sort of peer or authoritative power is just useless. It's an endless circle of, you're going to constantly feel like you're trying to please the higher up, and that's not the point of all this. The point of all this is to please yourself, and that's it.
And do everything with purpose. I feel everyone's trying to mask entirely what they're doing. It's even down to, okay, if you're drinking or playing this style of music, just own it. Like, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, don't take a picture of me, I'm drinking. I'm like, dude, like,
right.
Come on, you everyone knows what your problems are in life, or oh, don't tell anyone about this. It's
obviously don't do like certain things that are private. Don't film yourself taking a shit.
Yeah. You have Austin from Water Parks probably do that.
I think he actually did recently.
Yeah,
no,
probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's write your Wikipedia page for it, because anybody can write a Wikipedia page. So why don't we start? I know some of this is probably wrote for you guys, but why don't we just get it right? All right. So straight from the mouth of babes. So, First of all, you guys are actually from Vegas.
Yeah.
You guys are a lot of people think you're from Canada.
I was born in Toronto.
All right, so okay.
I was born in Toronto. They were born in Vegas.
And this ballroom, Palaye Royale, is where our grandparents on our mother's side met in the 40s.
50s.
Yeah, so that's where they met, and that's why we named the band, is because I think it's kind of beautiful. We wouldn't be here without it.
Romanticism.
And so, I think, was it you classically trained, or was it you?
All three of us.
All three of you
and
were.
piano.
Okay, so there's another fact we're fixing.
Yeah,
Good.
when we started with piano, that was kind of our mom's first gift to us was, I'm going to give you the gift of music. No one will be able to take it away. And that was all kind of what our idea was with it. And then we were like, I want to play this instrument. So I want to play this instrument. And Mom's like, no, you have to do 2 years of theory and realize the chordal structures and understanding. And because it is a language.
She didn't mess around.
No, she didn't.
No.
You know, she was on the road with InXS taking photos for them. And she was in
Was she a rock photographer?
She was.
Really?
Back in the 80s. And she was.
Went out with Iggy Pop.
Iggy Pop. And
Oh, wow.
Sex Pistols.
The Clash and Johnny Thunder's
Jeez.
Debaters.
So the stuff you guys got at home,
Yeah.
that just has to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she.
Yeah, she would show it every now and again. She had her.
It wasn't
trunk
like-
of things.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
We'd
it
have
wasn't
to
really
I'd be
ask.
surprised how many
celebrated.
photographers, music photographers from even the 90s have just got their stuff in filing cabinets and
Yeah.
they'd never pull it out.
Yeah, I never even knew she was a photographer until I think it was like 13.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She never really talked about
She
it.
was a methodical. She still is a very methodical.
And it's
woman.
interesting because usually parents, when they try and force their kids to go one way, the kid rebels and goes the other way.
And I
So I'm
think,
surprised you guys didn't come out as accountants or something like
well,
that.
that was what she made sure we were rounded in that sense that we.
Yeah.
So we played ice hockey, but also to play ice hockey, we did chess.
We were
Yeah,
all
so
national
we were-
chess
So
champions.
all right. So I thought it was only
Yeah.
one of you was like the chess whiz,
No.
or no, it's all three
All
of
three
you.
of us.
Yeah.
We all national chess champions. We
All
all
of us
played
compulsively
hockey. You know, we and then we all did the music thing. And so she kind of, and we did the whole skateboarding, snowboarding, and she just kind of said, "All right, dude, Remington was going to be he was third in the nation for under 18 when he was like 14 years old for inline skating, for vert skating." And it's just so that's why when people are like, "Oh, don't go climbing on shit," like hanging backwards on stage, he's like, I did this like my whole life. This is fine. Yeah, but
Yeah, we've had an interesting life, but
Like,
like,
we
cause
moved to LA and when we were like 5 years ago, maybe.
yeah,
And that was a big change because that's when we like all of our ties from our previous band. It just got to this point because we were the ages that we were in the big old bad music industry. People take advantage of you, like simply, and
Sure.
anything that has the possibility of exploiting young kids and their parents' money, it's just fucking blown.
What's
out
the
of
number one
proportion.
thing that they try and do?
It's just change everything about, like, we were writing songs about like our
Death.
like our like his
My
friends
friend
like,
had killed himself,
themselves and things like that, and like our grandma dying and like things that we were actually like very emotional, like
And
the point of
feeling.
music to the point of creation. And then it got turned into this thing of like,
oh, you got to write a
dark.
happy song.
yeah.
I was
Kids
like,
don't
but
wanna
I'm
hear about
not
that.
happy right now. Why would I write a happy
You
song?
can't.
So we consciously self-destructed everything and took like a year off to just like be human beings.
moving
you
to
know?
LA was the greatest thing for us. We kind of got to. We didn't really have much of a childhood after the age of 12 for him because we were doing, this music career prior to it. And so when I was around 18, 19, it was one of those, we moved to LA and just kind of had free reins of not being in school, no responsibility, but we kind of had to just figure it out.
Yeah.
And we had all the tools because of what we saw previously. And we're like, how do we recreate that without doing it? And we just started jamming and we came up with the music that we did.
Yeah, that we
And-
just truly enjoyed and we truly came
And
from us.
everyone was just saying, this isn't going to work. Everyone still says it to this day. And I'm like, well, we just did our first little headline run by ourselves, no promotion, no support acts or anything. And we were selling out 350 cap rooms in Chicago, less than 2 years. Everyone's
Yeah.
like, that usually takes a band 5
Our
years
past
to do.
6 headlining shows, sold them all
We
out.
sold out our Canadian
That's
run,
awesome.
and we booked our own tour. Our agents wouldn't book us a tour, so we booked it ourselves. We got on the phone and picked it up and said, we're playing here, here, and here. So it was the process of us getting to this point for the past 5 years was figuring it out. Our first EP was, we called it Musical Masturbation because we just tried everything. We literally
What kind
wanted
of masturbating are you doing? Trying everything.
Yeah. we put gospel singers on, we put strings, we put horns, and then we realized you can't play this shit live unless you want to use a computer.
Yeah, because we're like, okay, well, we can't hire the 13-piece gospel for the Viper Room, so that's out. And then we're like, oh, horn player, that's out. I'm like, what's left? I was like, drums and guitar. Like, okay, we got to make this work. We got to start writing songs that we can actually play live.
How old were you guys when you moved to LA?
I was 19, 17,
17.
15.
15. And so, and you were saying like you didn't have to worry about school or anything else like that, or what? Did the whole family move, or was just you guys
It was
out on your own?
us and our mom. Yeah,
Okay.
She moved out there with us, and she
Yeah.
kind of looked the other way when things would happen, and it was a nice thing because we got to be shitheads, and
Because
That's when I did start the experiment of self-education, because I don't think what schools are teaching now is really useful at all. So I kind of started my own experiment of philosophers and poets and architects, and I realized that this life it can be beautiful and profound. Intelligence is beauty, I think.
I got my GED when I was 16, and I was just...
Yeah, I'm technically I am a dropout, and but
a
I
middle
wear
school-
that.
he
I
was a
wear
middle
that-
school dropout.
I wear that proudly.
What's your, everybody that's into philosophy, they have their like,
Alan
either-
Watts is my
Yours? Why?
spiritual father figure, because when my real father wasn't there, he was.
Is there anything you take away from him? I'm not that familiar with him, but is there anything you
He
take away
talks
from him?
about Taoism and
Okay.
Eastern philosophy, and it's all about spiritual realization and realizing that the divinity is within you. And I think that kind of shines through on our work and just the way I exist. Simply, I don't know. Things can be beautiful.
Is it about finding like an inner peace or like an inner,
Yeah, I think,
like spine? I guess, in a way.
existentialism.
Right.
It's to mean to find your place in existence, and I think that's what we're all here for, is to find what the point of all of this is.
I think it's interesting. The more we become connected, right, technologically, the more we see
The
the
further we've gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
It's just isolation of ego. Like, it's great to be an individual, and individualism is incredible. But I think when everyone has become so obsessed with creating this false reality, like kids, like they'll come to our VIPs and they don't give a fuck until they take a photo. And then
It's like
which
it's
is
not
just
real
crazy,
until...
right?
I'm like, you're watching 3 songs,
and then they take the photo and then they go and you can see them literally like post it in front of you, and you're like, that's all you want, because people like to create a false illusion to impress.
That's why
It's
we
personal.
call Instagram the highlight reel, because that's exactly what it is for everybody.
You're not
No
calling
one's
it
like,
insecure.
I had a really shitty day today.
Look how
No,
crappy I
everyone's
look.
like,
Yeah.
oh, look at this, I'm here. Look
Yeah.
at this amazing restaurant that I'm at. Like, oh, I'm flying in a jet.
It's got to be kind of. It's almost like it's a necessary evil for you guys to have to even use it because you're in a band and you need it.
Yeah,
At the
exactly.
same time,
That's-
philosophically, you know,
we've-
that
I
you
mean,
don't want to
that's
become.
that's why we double everything with having to do something like social media. We have a newspaper publication, you know.
Yeah, Emerson Emerson
You do
writes
the art
books.
films. and
Yeah,
we do art films.
Right.
Yeah,
I've released a book, you know.
Yeah, the
'Cause
art-
we
the
would
art
love
films.
we would love to be the band that goes, we're not going to be on any social
But
media,
yeah,
but then we'd have no kids at our shows.
And we would be like,
So
and
that
we'd be-
that would suck.
then we would be like old rock bands that I do like that are around right now that are like, oh, why do you even post shit? I'm like, dude, you guys are still like playing to 3 people and you're an awesome band, you know?
But that's the thing with this power or recognition that we've been gifted. Like, I don't know, I do these kind of like experiments of, I call it intellectual Instagram. And whenever I do it, it actually blows up of these kids expressing their thoughts and their ideologies and poetry. And I don't know, if you give these kids a chance to actually be deep, they are like, I don't know, everyone's depressed in their own way, you know.
How do you know? There's a lot of generalization and stereotyping of this younger generation by older generations, right? And what do you think is like the biggest misunderstanding of them, like underestimation?
We are a gloomy generation, and we really haven't been through much. We haven't experienced wars, or not yet, you know. I don't know.
There's too much of a safe zone for people right now. I feel there's something to be said about when you feel like you can't walk down a street and you think something will happen. It kind of keeps you on your toes. But now that everything's like butterflies and roses, everyone literally is masking what is being seen. You know, it's, oh, you can't say this, you can't be a bully, you can't, you know, let's prevent I'm like, it's going back to the thing. It has built me as a person because of going through the things I went through.
Don't get us wrong. We're not saying go out and bully someone.
No,
but
it's saying that there's a world that is, you can't. It's censored. Everything is censored now, and
everything's
you can't say a sentence now without offending somebody.
Michael DeBar, you know him?
Yeah.
He was on a panel on addiction at South by a number of years back, and he they were talking about bullying online and so forth. And so I asked him, I said, you know, what do you do with the singer, though, that new artist, I should say, that isn't used to this, and they just go over that precipice where all of a sudden now the knives come out, because an artist gets to a point where they love you and then they don't like you, then there's a crowd that just wants to take you down. And I said, what do you say to that person? Like, they're getting the crap beat out of them. You didn't have to deal with that in your generation. And he just got disgusted, and he said, toughen up. Just get over it.
Honestly, because there's sometimes, I think one of the biggest things that's ever happened in my life was, I think it was Gene Simmons. Like, we met with Gene Simmons, and I was like 16 years old, and we played like a song. Hadn't gone through puberty yet, and he just was like, honestly, I don't think you're that good. It's like, you want to maybe try a different instrument. And then I worked my ass off for the next like 5 years trying to become a better singer, better performer. And honestly, sometimes criticism, it pushes you really hard. I'll see like an occasional comment, like I don't think I've ever seen a comment now saying that was a boring show. That's good.
Everyone's always entertained.
Yeah, which is really 90% of it, right? You gotta wow people now, because you're literally, what you're doing is you're trying to fight to get them to look up from their phone.
And the problem, I think, is like, honestly, the Vine generation, they have 6-second attention spans. So if you're not doing something interesting in
Every
6 seconds,
you know,
they'll scroll. You will lose them.
They'll scroll.
They will scroll.
There's another
on
poem
Instagram.
in there, by the way. I'm telling you. What do you got? Where do you guys? All right, so let me ask a more pop-y kind of thing. Where do you guys shop for your clothes? Like, how do you shop?
We sleep with old ladies in Beverly Hills.
Well, that's one way. Estate sales. That's a good way to do it.
Actually, estate sales are incredible.
They are. You can get some good old records
I
too.
enjoy
that
going
way.
around them, and the old ladies love when I turn up. They're like, someone like you still around? Like, yes,
the best is like,
so then they just shower you with discounts, and
the best is if I was 50 years younger, I would totally be after you. I'm like, great.
I get most of my pants from like ex-girlfriends that like leave their clothes at the
or
house.
buy you clothes, and then you date someone else to buy you new leather pants.
This shirt actually Kellen gave to me last night.
Oh,
so,
nice
his
Aerosmith shirt.
New girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's my new girlfriend, Kellen Quinn.
It's 2017. Where do you it's the let's talk about LA for a second, because especially when you guys went out there at the ages you guys were, and that you don't really hear it a lot as much as you used to. Like in the 90s, you heard it a lot. Like, I'm going to go to LA and I'm going to become famous. I'm going to go in the 80s, definitely. But now there's like more of a kind of a philosophy, like, you can be anywhere.
It's true.
You just gotta bust out via social and YouTube and everything else like that. But
that's what we tried. The Sunset Strip thing. We were
the last band.
I honestly think we were the last band from that scene.
We did Viper, the Whiskeys over and over. We did shows with Scott Weiland. Billy Idol had us play Courtney Love.
The woman that booked Guns N' Roses booked us, and they were like, she was like, I kind of realized that this is it right here. And it wasn't anything noteworthy, essentially. It was dying. It was a dying culture.
It wasn't like, we got a huge tour.
That's actually how we met Kim Fowley and Rodney Bingenheimer, which were huge influences on us.
Oh, Rodney, I'm sure. Right?
We were at a soup plantation, and we recognized Rodney and his like too young girlfriend, and his like hair and whatever.
Sure,
and,
the
like,
hair, definitely.
We were like kind of just like a little weirded out, and we were like, should we go over? And we like worked up the courage to go over, and he was like, I saw you guys were doing this Superstar Shuffle, and then he hands us his phone from like the early 2000s, and then it's Kim Fowley on the phone, and he goes, are you a fucking rock star? And then I was like, yeah, I think I am. He goes, all right, prove it, come to my house. And then
he passes the phone to me.
That's such a rock star moment right there, just by itself, right?
And that's when we started almost like Kim Fowley summer camp. he said it was superstar training.
He wanted us to be his last unfinished project because he knew he was dying.
Like, I think on the second time we went over to his house, he invited a stripper over, and it made us really uncomfortable because our mom was there.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then
she did the touring.
Yeah.
She knows what
Yes.
goes on.
But
So
Kim was
finally
doing this
invited
on
like
purpose.
this
Yeah.
prostitute stripper, and it's like, and he's like, okay, go try to have sex with him. And I'm like, my mother is right there. I was like, you can't do this. He's like, are you guys uncomfortable? We're like, yes. He goes, good. He goes, what are you going to do in this situation? I'm like, why would I be in this situation? He goes, trust me, you're
Why
going
would
to
my
be in-"
mother be here? And
and thus the
prostitute?
generation gap exposed itself right there.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but he was incredible. He was the reason, like, I think that we are as stubborn as we are, because he gave us that like wax seal of approval, where it was like, I don't give a fuck what these businessmen younger than me think. I think you guys are stars, and that was just kind of like, you know what? I think we are too.
How do you not get a big head over something like that, though? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's gonna be in someone's hands.
It's funny because like
I think
Yeah, hanging out. It doesn't even matter. Even just the Gene Simmons story alone, even though he came at you, still, it's like,
well, it's
Yeah.
Rod, some old lady comes up to us and she was super gorgeous. She walks up to us. She's like, my husband wants to meet you. We're like, okay. Walk over. Like, that's fucking Rod Stewart. And she's like, yeah, that's my husband. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? I'm like, if Rod Stewart, the guy that I've looked up to majority of my whole entire life with the faces, it's one of those things you're like, people are taking notice on all genre spectrums that they're understanding we're it for what's happening and what's been lost, because there's too much. I know a lot of bands that really are put together by a label, and it's like, here's a guitar player, here's a bass player, this, you're all doing this, here's your project, go. And I'm like, where is the honesty in that? They're all with the mindset of saying, well, let's make a career out of this, but careers don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
You have to build something, and then you might have a career.
And the crazy thing
know?
is, we whenever we find ourselves even getting slightly of a big head, that we realize, and then we go and play a tour to a crowd that has no idea who the fuck we are,
And we're like,
and which is good. I
Fast forward.
love that, where it's like, okay, you're back in the van, we're sleeping, he's right next to my fucking smelly ass feet, and we're like cuddling right in the back of the van, and so you're back in that situation, and it just humbles the shit out of you. And there's always going to be one guy in the audience that's like, oh, who the fuck are these guys? And then you have to prove yourself over and over and over again. But
And it's
I
completely
think that's the best.
necessary to be the change that you wish to see in the world, And we never saw what I liked. I wasn't seeing anything that made me want to like go out and like get excited about creation.
I'm too.
That's music. Music's a luxury. That's why we listen to it. It's
I'm too
beautiful.
young. I'm too young to Emerson as well. When Emerson went to the Jet concert, and it's crazy to see. We were playing in Vegas on this Crown the Empire tour, and Emerson was like, "This is where I met Jet 10 years ago," and they were about 26, 27 at the time, and looking like they're partying way too hard, and they're upstairs, and they had the same kind of scenario of what their story was like, and it was one of those things that we're realizing that we're getting past the point of doing exactly what we wanted 2 years ago. We're at the point of selling out the same venue that our favorite band was selling out 10 years ago. So I'm excited to see where we're going to take it, and I know where we're going to take it. It was like, do you know what you're going to do? I'm like, yeah, I have a pretty good idea. We have our heads on straight, and we have each other to literally tell each other to fuck off when there's anything evil going on around us.
because that's one good thing about us is like, we get into fights all the time.
But there's three of us.
But there's
we're
three
not
of us.
Oasis.
Yeah.
So you can't just get angry with
can't
each
call
other.
one of the guys
Yeah.
a prat and walk
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
It's
it's always
just
two
2
versus
against 1.
3. It's perfect. So, so the second we fight, we're gonna. I remember there was one big fight on Warped Tour. That was like,
That was when all the girlfriends were on the road.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
blame them.
yeah. So we had this huge fight on Warped Tour. We were thinking about, we're like, oh fuck this. We're done. And we're like, we're gonna play this one last show and then we're done.
This
And
year
then-
or the last?
That
That was
year.
last year. And then we walk on the stage, and it was the biggest crowd we've ever seen. And we all look at each other like,
Fuck you.
I fucking hate you. but we're gonna have fun tonight.
But that you probably had a great show.
Yeah.
Oh, it was one of the funnest shows I've ever
Because
played.
just like you said, it's the worst albums for any punk rock or a rock artist ever were the ones where they were too comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had the mansion.
Yep.
They probably
Yeah.
just had a kid.
Yeah.
Life's
Yeah.
great. They can do anything and they're number one. And they put out the most boring crap
Yeah.
you've ever heard in
Created
your
our
life.
best work being homeless.
Yeah. Well, our first tour we went on right before we got signed. Actually, we were doing a high school tour. We were copying that whole Stones thing of playing high schools
On the
And
football field.
On the football
On
field.
the football field.
It was,
All right.
It was great, and there was a bunch of kids that were just there all the time, and we were on the road, and we're about to go home like 2 weeks, and like, okay, where's our shit? And when we got to our house, like,
Got evicted.
we got evicted. All of our
Oh,
shit was
man.
stolen.
Oh,
like,
jeez.
Lost a lot of our
lost
history.
lost all baby photos, lost grand pianos, like lost instruments.
But now, actually, that house, Charlie XCX
bought
lives
it.
there. She
So-
has my Buddhism statue.
She's got my baby pictures.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
But
So that was right before we signed,
And then
that
me and-
kind of fucking shook us up. We're like, okay, we had that. We wrote this whole record, the Boom Boom Room, there, and it was 1927 Speakeasy up in Beechwood Canyon. Paid 1 month of rent and lived there for like 10 months without paying rent because we couldn't afford it. Because when you get people in LA promise things, it never actually fucking
Yeah,
happens.
Is that the was that the Chaplin House reference or something like that?
Yeah,
Literally up the street was the official monkeys. You know the monkeys. They had the plaque outside the house.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
So that's this house
It was
in
right
Beechwood
next-
Canyon. I
yeah.
want the fucking plaque.
We're gonna go to Charlie XCX and just hammer a plaque, be like, "Boom Boom Room was made here." Because we
But,
used to throw clubs before we toured, and before we actually got evicted from that house. Everyone's like, "Why aren't you playing clubs anymore?" And we're like, "Because it's broken. That whole world is broken."
We wanted to control the setting of what was played on a
So
projector and
we had
alcohol.
we just would have an open bar and invite all the fans over, and it was 100 to 150 kids in our basement, and we have it on YouTube actually, of this video of us just playing in the basement, and we were playing all the new music and trying it out before we recorded. So we just did live pre-production before we even got signed.
And then you knew the show was over when the cops started rolling up
Yeah.
the house.
Yeah,
And then-
two of my friends got DUIs that night, got sent back to France.
But yeah, because
Bonsoir.
we grew up going to private schools, and then we get evicted. We literally had enough money. Me and Emerson had enough money to pay for this shitty motel in Studio City, California, for I think 5-6
We'll
days
put it in the Wikipedia page. Room 6
at the
of
El Patio Inn
El Patio Inn on Laurel. Or
And-
on,
El Patillo.
on Ventura.
on Ventura.
But so we had 6 days in this hotel. We're like, we have 6 days to get signed, and luckily we got it. We got signed on the 4th day
That
from Sumerian. He's like, okay, we'll do the paperwork. I'm like, no, we need some money so we can pay for this motel right now. He's like, okay.
Did you guys, any of you have a regular job, do Guitar Center?
I was
or anything?
like,
Proudly have never had a job in my life.
because we were like, we're gonna die artists.
Yeah.
If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it 100%. Because someone told me the second you have a plan B, plan A does not fucking work.
We had to start stealing food from 7-Eleven because we were started
which 7-Eleven was that? Let's put that in the
right next to the El Patio.
Yeah, but still fucking bags,
to me,
Lunchables.
That was always that everyone was just get a job, and even when we first got signed to Sumerian, he was
Get a job.
most of my pretty much all of my bands have jobs and they just work normal lives, and I was like,
No.
sweetheart, I'm not normal.
I was like, put me on the road forever. I'm not getting a job.
And then that's when they put us out, and it was the first tour. We're like, all right, cool, seeing some support, label support, great.
We came back with I think $15 a piece from
Yeah.
a 2-month tour.
And we were getting a
okay.
guarantee of $50
You
on
guys
the
are
first
going
tour.
out. Then in 2 more weeks, I'm like, I gotta make $15 stretch 2 weeks. Going to the
99
99
cent
store.
or you just go out and you have random. LA is a weird place for that. You can survive and be homeless in LA by just knowing people. All of our friends there are not the people that you would think we would be friends with. It's all pop stars and all these
Master
movie
P's
kids
son.
lived at our house for two months while a lot of things were going on in his life, and it was one of these things. It was just we got to see life through some glasses, and then we got to take them off and like not be fucked up like everyone else in that town.
But yeah, it's so easy to get stuck in LA, and we just make it a point where like we give ourselves 2 weeks at a time there, and then we're back out on the road because it's so easy to lose sight of what you really want, and it's really easy to get distracted and go, oh, LA is great. All my friends are telling me I'm so great. I'm at the club. This is amazing.
I'm recording my album for the past 2 years, but no one gives a shit. I'm writing a hit. No one cares about your hit because no one's gonna listen to it because there's so much content.
You become so ignorant when you live there, and like I don't go out at all when I'm back. I just kind of do what I have
Everyone
to do.
thinks they are the greatest thing in the entire world, and there's an entire city of them.
Well, it's kind of like what LA is, right? It's all about self-promotion.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite lines.
Because if you don't promote yourself, then somebody else will.
But it's like, what is even being promoted now anymore?
Yeah.
It's literally just sex or horror.
One of my favorite lines to describe LA is from Almost Famous.
Sometimes the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a generation of Cinderellas, and there's no slipper in sight.
It's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. There's an album title there, I think. Somewhere. Where's the as you guys were hanging out with a lot of the 1%, or so forth like that, I guess. What's like the takeaway where the three of you maybe were sitting on one of those long overnight halls someplace and you say like, we can't become that?
Dude, it's when you see those fucking kids that you were watching. Like I was watching, I can't really say the names of them, but like Nickelodeon and Disney Channel stars, like the biggest of those stars.
They were in my house having drug problems, and I'm like, okay.
Or like they are broke and they have addictions and they can't even form sentences, and they have a fan base that they promote. Like, do you know who Bella Thorne is?
Yes.
Yeah. She is the kind of perfect image of what she promotes to fans as just terrible, as like promoting what you can be, and it's like such a bad mirror of what she's trying to do. Like when we saw these kids like at 5 a.m. or whatever, and you're like, damn, that's where they ended up. You're like,
Well,
I'm gonna
they're
go home and work.
And it's you think it's these people that have the money, and you're like, okay, it's one thing if you're in the mansion in the hills and you're having a good time, then you can feel like shit. But when you see these people with the fucking blankets over the windows in a crack studio down in like somewhere in Hollywood, and you walk outside and it's like 8:30 in the morning, you're like, why the hell am I here? These people are insane. And we just kind of, I'm so happy we're away from it. It's a hole, and it's you think you're going to be somebody for the rest of your life, but the reality is there's going to be someone working a lot harder than you is going to take your spot.
Like it's gonna happen to everyone, because there's gonna be a band that can play better than you, that's younger, that's better looking,
and that works a lot harder.
That's
what we're doing. That's what we're doing on a lot of these tours. People are like comfortable in their buses and their assistants and their security
I'm gonna
guards.
stand outside,
and I'm like, I'm in the
15 techs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stand outside and meet every single kid.
And I'm like, why do that? I will definitely. The comfort is being able to not have to drive and being able to sleep. But for the most part, it's about when we get to that point, our careers are going to only be that much better, because it's going to give us time to be a band and be a business sitting in the back of the bus. Like Good Charlotte, we saw that on the whole tour with them. They're running their management company and on the road. They had 2 buses. One was an office. One was like for everyone else. And I'm like, that is how you run a business. And it's nice to see all these people, that there are people doing it. But there's also a lot of people that are having their asses wiped. And I'm like, you're playing 800 people. You should have no fucking ego.
Yeah.
It's like funny because you guys are coming. It's the people that don't know you think that that's what you guys are.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're completely not.
Yeah, but that's what
It's just 'cause
the
the way
time
we
is
dress.
taken.
Yeah. And we're okay with people thinking that, because that's just, I don't know, any insecurity that someone points out in you is just something that they haven't developed within themselves, and I think it's very easy to look at us and be like, oh, what fucking assholes. But I mean, like Remington said,
We're actually
read
pretty
the
nice
book.
You guys have to be the quintessential example of a group of guys that can walk into any Denny's, any airport, anything, and the first thing out of somebody's mouth, like, are you guys in a band?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. No,
Every
that's
time.
every single time
Gas
we go
station.
anywhere. There'll be points like we'll be looking like shit, and like we're always we're always dressed in something. Like my pajamas is.
I'm actually
like,
surprised you guys got dressed up today. That's
no, it's
I actually
pretty
fell
cool.
asleep in this.
This
Oh,
is
all right.
funny.
Well, that's even cooler. All right. That's
This
awesome.
is the thing, though. It's like our trailer isn't just gear like most bands, and people have. The funniest thing is seeing bands. There's a lot of bands on Warped Tour that will have rolling cases for their wardrobe, and you open it up and it's fucking t-shirts. I'm like I have like all my coats hung up, all our scarves hung up, like all our boots are there, different, everything. And I'm like, you've spent so much money to put on a baseball cap and a t-shirt. I'm like, those road cases are $2,000 a piece, and you spent that for a fucking t-shirt.
There should be a tux in there.
It's been funny to see these people, because everyone thinks that, everyone has always thought that we're the assholes. They meet us, and that's why I think it's taken the time it has. Everyone's like, you guys have blown up so quickly. I'm like, well, we haven't really blown up just yet, but it's a lot of proving, because a band like us doesn't fit in a mold in this generation.
Yeah, we just want to work so hard where if it does like blow up like to like a really big thing, we don't even notice it, because we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you guys ever, this is another trite question, just curious. If you guys ever walk into a restaurant, trying to get some food or whatever the deal is, and probably would be a chain restaurant, and usually out in the suburbs someplace, and they automatically look at you guys and go like, these guys are trouble, and they just put you in the corner pocket away from everybody.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes.
We can't go into Waffle Houses in the South.
It's just life.
Yeah, our whole life has been that.
Always in the corner pocket.
Yeah.
There you go.
I prefer it though. I'm more comfortable there.
Right, exactly. You can't go to Waffle Houses?
No, it's especially
South.
in the South, is because there's all these truckers that go
No.
that just assume like, who are these lady boys? I don't want to be eating my steak near these lady boys.
The weirdest
Like,
thing was that you think we're living in it. You're saying 2017, and guys are with guys, girls are with girls.
Right.
Everyone's with everyone. It's the 60s all over again. And it's funny that we will go into the South, and there's some people, they're like, I'm not going to sit next to a bunch of homosexuals and leave. I'm like, so your white supremacy is like, your ass is sitting here like saying all this shit. I'm like, you are so small-minded. It is the most unbelievable thing. And you walk out to their car, and they're like, have a Confederate flag. I'm like, this is weird how like life is.
Yeah.
And a band like us just
Me and Remington
mosey
can't
through
go
it.
into like public bathrooms, like men's bathrooms.
Oh yeah, they get so weirded out.
So like I'll be like washing my hands or something, and they'll walk in. And
You
they'll
look like
see
John
me,
Lennon.
But
Why are you the problem?
It's this.
They wait
face
outside
that
until
I
we're
see.
finished.
No, they always
And-
think
and
that
then
they
they go in.
entered the women's bathroom, and they're like, they have this like, oh, and then they leave, and then they wait till I'm out, and then they come out, and then they go in, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I'm like, we're not. I'm like, I don't even have my stage makeup on right now.
Have you guys noticed the tenseness out on the road?
Yeah.
With kids, or just in the crowds, or the places you're going and stuff? You've noticed that the country's kind of in a weird spot.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like the country is
Energetically
kind of
and
so weird.
spiritually, we're,
But the good thing is like the one good thing to come out of this horrible situation that America's kind of in right now is what I've noticed is some of the best punk music in the entire world
Sure.
comes out of shitty politics.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one bright side is like everyone can like stand up at a fucking good rock show and just have a blast, and there's good fucking music that stands for something.
It was
again.
nice to see yesterday. You have a bunch of kids that probably don't even want to be friends with each other, all uniting and listening to music, and that's why live entertainment will save what the world is in. Because I feel people don't go there with they're not everyone, but there's most tours that we've been on. Everyone's there just to enjoy themselves, and I think that's what life is. What it is about. There's some people like walking with their pack sun, short sun, and their PBR and their visors, and like, you're fucking gay. And I'm like, dude, you're at an Icy Stars concert. Like, come on, you
My
can't be saying
band
this
sounds
stuff.
like the band your dad
Yeah.
grew up with. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you were
Yeah.
saying something that spiritually things are a little.
Yeah, definitely on the east and west coast. Everyone's kind of cool. I like it there, and everyone's like, still no one really has conversations with one another, but in the middle pocket of America, spiritually, 50 years ago, they're in the same place, of ignorance, and ignorance is violence, and we've seen recently a lot of violence taking place out of ignorance. Yeah, I think we're at a weird moment, and that's what this next album's gonna kind of not specifically talk about, but kind of carry the energy of improvement, you know, of actually unity. And you know, it's great to say fuck Trump, but what are you going to actually do about it?
Right.
You know, it would be great to have a physical revolution, but I think it has to start online first, and there has to be kind of action step made for that.
Yeah.
You know,
I was going to ask, what are you taking out of, you know, what you're kind of living with out on the road and so forth, out into the next record? Because this last one's last year, 2016.
Yeah.
Right?
This one, you know, the record was already finished, but we've written so many new songs, and they're just like we've kind of been had our ups and downs of emotion. We've kind of been pushed as far as we can go emotionally, and we really put that into this record, you know. And we're just there's been moments on this record where we're just kind of like, fucking hell, like I'm there. I'm getting close, guys. And then, you know, we just write a really good song about it, and just I think that's the most important, is to put kind of like what everyone's kind of scared to say, how they're feeling. It's okay. Like, you're not going to be judged. It's like you actually might be accepted for putting your feelings on the line, and that's what we kind of put out.
So I really appreciate you guys coming in for this. If there's like, kind of going back to the Wikipedia thing there, and then this is kind of where you clear up facts and stuff like that. But if there's one thing that you want listeners to kind of discover your music, either through Spotify or whatever, they come see at a show and your headliner, you're opening up for somebody like, whoa, well, who's this band or so forth, what would it be? What would be that one thing you want them to know about you?
We love playing music.
That's obvious.
I'm on drugs.
This could be the next generation of culture, you know, because there is culture around, but I don't think it's substantial enough to be written about in the history books. And I think if we all give a little bit of a shit, we could do something cool.
Yeah.
I feel like we're the band to, you know, bring back exactly what's been lost in the world, and that's just having culture and having a little sort of a revolution of what has been lost.
Like
So,
you said earlier, like what's going in those memory boxes of kids?
Mhm.
And
That's
you
all.
can't put
That's
your
all.
phone
That's,
there.
No.
when you're on your deathbed, that's the only thing you're gonna have at it. And I think it's being a part of something, standing for something, and trying to make this world a better place for the generations after us.
Yeah, you're not going to be on your deathbed and go, remember that day I got 100 likes on that photo? Oh, that was the day.
Experiences, not things.
Yeah.
I think that's probably another thing that we're kind of getting into in this world right now. It's about, because when you're living on your phone, you're not experiencing anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
You're experiencing other people's lives.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can ever use for your ego boost is to follow an Instagram account of a bunch of a trust funder,
Yeah.
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 because they just go all over the world and they don't like. Do you
Yeah.
work? Do you struggle?
Yeah.
Like,
There's a lot of those in our life.
Yeah. What's the
You had no idea what I had to go through today. My card didn't go through for the private jet, so I had to use another card. It was a crazy
The
day.
reality is we have a ton of those.
My
friends
assistant
there.
was supposed to take the car through the car wash
Yeah.
and didn't do it.
And
so-
that little
The
bitch didn't do it.
gardener
My
showed up.
car's
The
dirty.
gardener showed up when I was having a massage. It was really loud. And we're like, and that's
very
actually
LA.
yeah,
That's very
and
LA.
it happens a lot.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I understand why you guys are like out on the road. We're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're finally,
I
it's
can't
great.
stand it.
Phoenix is first.
Just to see what we've done is that we've got to finally, we've done 2 years of America and North America and built something here. And we're heading out to now different
London.
countries.
Yeah,
and
going to London
different
right after this
continents.
tour. And then
It's exciting.
Philippines.
I'm gonna do a future prediction for my Wikipedia page. In a year, we're gonna reside to a chateau in northern France.
And we're going to make whatever record that is.
Right, we have two like full conceptual albums that we want to do with films.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to get Tim Burton to do it, but if he can't, I'll make it look like him.
You're the one with Johnny Depp. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, Black Pearl.
And then he has the,
Yeah.
Edward Scissorhands.
Edward Scissorhands. Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely, we've always said the Palaye Royale is, we want to be Palaye Royale headlines for MTV World Stage at Palaye Royale in Toronto or the Palaye Royale in France. And that would be like the coolest end all.
That's kind of like
That-
where we want to go.
That's when we feel like we'll make it, is when we can sell out at like a world stage for like 20,000-30,000 people in front of the Palaye Royale and get that. Yeah, it would be cool.
Because the French one is a museum. It's like attached to the Louvre in Paris.
okay.
The Palaye Royale was the original structure behind the Louvre.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I read about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love buildings. So.
yeah. That wasn't that like wasn't it also like a cemetery at some point or something like that?
It started off as like the king's estate, and then it was
Right.
turned into. There was this beautiful time where it was open to artists, and if you were a sculptor or an artist, you had board and you had a room in the chateau or in the Louvre, and you were there to create. And I love times like that.
That's yeah. It's except when you had to do whatever the king wanted you to do, and then you were kind of like, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta paint his cousin again.
Yeah, right.
All right, thanks guys. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much for having us.
All right.